Hello everyone, this is part 1 of this demo and I will show you how to attach a sprue to our wax model and how to prepare it for investing. Safety, you must turn the extractor fan on when working at the sprueing station. Tools and equipment, we're going to use a heat gun with a thermostat. Bring your steel block and a third hand, as well as a wax tool, a small spatula. When you work right underneath the hood of the fan. Choose a flask. For this project we need a small size flask, about 8 centimeters in height and about 7 in diameter. You must choose a rubber base that fits very tightly on the flask and try it, make sure it is tight. If it is loose, it will come off during investing and cause a lot of problems. You must clean the flask and the base, scrub it to remove any debris that might be inside. We are going to use a red sprue wax, wire sprue wax, 8 gauge in size. This is a round wire and it's softer than your carving wax. We are going to first attach a sprue to the thickest part of our model, which is the base of the shank, which should be 2 millimeters thick. The rest will be 1 to 1.5 millimeters thick, so much thinner. First, we must prepare the sprue. We are going to use a double sprue for this project. So we cut 2 short sections of the wax wire, about 2 or 3 centimeters on the steel block, and we are going to heat up the space between the 2 sprues to make them stick together with the heat gun. And you can use your spatula to smooth out. We are going to drip a little bit of wax in the gap that was between these 2 sections. Hold your sprue with the third hand to keep it steady and drip the wax from another piece on top of the sprue and smooth out with the heat gun. Now, this will be attached to our wax model, again at the bottom of the shank where it is the thickest. We're going to place our ring upside down on the steel block and keep it steady with the third hand. With the heat gun, we melt a little bit the end of the sprue, one end of the sprue, and press it down on the shank. And then we wait and hold until the wax cools down and solidifies. Before we go to the next step, we have to add some wax where the sprue is connected to the ring, to the model. That's what we call a fillet. We always need to have a fillet at the joint between the sprue and the model. So we're going to add more wax there and smooth it out so there is no abrupt step between the different parts of the model. What we want is a nice, smooth slope or transition. And that's because we don't want to interrupt the flow of the metal when casting. So this is how you can position your model, leaning on your third hand so that you can add wax all around the sprue, the base of the sprue. Be very careful with the heat gun. Do not touch the model with it or it will be damaged. You could even melt it. You can also adjust the thermostat if you feel that the heat gun is too hot. So the final check, touching up, making sure there's no abrupt transition, making sure that everything is nice and smooth. Okay, so we're ready for the next step. Now we're going to cut the sprue to the required length, which should be about 10 millimeters. So we're going to use the spatula or the heat gun to cut it on the steel block. At this point, we should weigh the sprued model and write down this weight on your casting weight calculations worksheet. Now we're ready to attach the sprued model to the button. But before, we must check that the button is really round and smooth. So we will add some wax. You can drip some wax on top of the button, smooth out with the heat gun, and make sure it is nicely rounded. You can use your spatula as well if you prefer. When you are ready, you can, with the heat gun, melt the wax a little bit on the top of the button, press down the sprued model on top of the button in the middle, and wait and hold until the wax has hardened. Very important. This must be a strong and secure connection to prevent it from detaching during the investment process. So take time to check it and make sure it is not going to come off. Next, we need to make another fillet, just like we did at the top of the sprue with the ring. So good way to do it is to place your rubber base at an angle on the third hand, and this way you can access all around the base of the sprue. Take some sprue wire and melt it all around. And again, make sure there is a nice smooth slope, a nice transition between the button and the base of the sprue. Okay, final check. Let's have a closer look. And that's what we have at this point, with the fillets at the base and at the top near the ring. That's what the fillets are. Check the clearance. You need to have 15 millimeters minimum on top and 10 on the sides. That's it.